Hello and welcome back to OT the podcast. We're here to talk about watches, time, and how to spend it. I'm Felix Schultz, and as ever, my irrepressible co-host is
Mr. Andy Green.
Mr. Andy Green. Oh, I thought that was your father.
We're misters this week. We've got a guest. It's not just you and I.
Nice. Some people call him Phil.
Some people call him Geezer.
I call him Philip Toledano.
But you might know him as Mister Enthusiast.
Well, that was a good little unrehearsed back and forth intro that I probably ruined by calling it out like that.
Yeah, well, you know, none other than Mister Enthusiast is joining us for another chat. I think this is chat number 3.
Take 3. But this time he's finally the keen listeners who remember, last time we talked to him probably about a year ago, he was teasing a watch. This time around, he's released the watch and sold the watch out. Toledano Chan, can't remember what it's called, the B1 or something.
The B1. Did you see that they held 10 back? So it was 175 pieces. They held 10 back.
Yeah.
And your fave, Mike Naveau,
our fave watch TikToker,
the king of watch TikTok, threw up a post basically saying first 10 people to DM me gets it, and apparently they went in 4 minutes.
Sure. I wonder, do you sell them on Hodinkee as well?
Yeah, I think that was I imagine that happened. It was the original plan was to sell them on Hodinkee.
Yeah, it's maybe there was, who knows? I mean, sure.
Smart though.
Snaps.
Like he went in 4 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, it was all, they were going to go, not to.
Well, one of the things we talk about, the main focus of this week's chat with Phil is about the starting of the brand and sort of going from enthusiast to professional. We also kind of draw on the new Audemars remaster. Is it 02?
Yeah, number 2.
Kind of second edition.
I didn't realise how big it was.
That's what we were all saying. We were saying, wow, this is a really nice looking watch.
Yeah.
It's kind of funky. It's kind of cool. Ticks all those boxes at the moment. Yeah. Saw some amazing photos. And then we saw it on the wrist. And
that's Ploprof.
It is a big fella. I saw some amazing photos. Some of the guys from Hodinkee Japan posting up photos.
Yeah.
Link them up.
Sick looking
product
watch.
shots. Oh, there's kind of the satin finish on the case, the angles. Gorgeous. And then you see it on the wrist and it's just enormous. I mean, I saw Robin Swithenbank put up a wrist shot as well. It looked better on him, but he's like
6.5 feet tall, so
yeah, he's a very, very significant being. And even then it looked big, and that's been but you know what, if it's kind of the sophisticated take on the Audemars concept sort of stuff that they do, fine, because those concept watches are enormous beasts and people still buy them.
And look, I think if you're an AP, fan in the running to get your hands on one of these sort of pretty limited watches, you're not going to be afraid of a bigger watch.
Exactly. And it's still really stunning. So, reserve our judgment until if and when we see it. But that was cool. The other watch that stood out, because AP cheekily released a few watches
as they
almost overnight. Much of a muchness, Royal Oak here, Royal Oak there. But there was one thing that really stood out to me.
Yeah, this was cool. I hadn't seen this until you shared it in our ever amazing Discord.
Well, join our Discord, because otherwise you'll miss out on watch news. It's a super strange time for watch media. Things like these releases, I don't know, maybe AP aren't paying people.
Well,
paying
also,
us for this.
From my point of view, late on a Friday.
Still, there was a moment in time where this would have been an urgent, blog or website post.
People would have been fired
article.
if this wasn't on Instagram within 15 minutes.
Yeah, after that, when people got a little bit lazy, reaction videos, and there was so little of that. I mean, I saw Revolution and maybe Monochrome really gave it some good coverage.
Yeah, Monochrome's given it a good write-up that we should probably link in bio, because we're going to be talking about it, and it's nice to see what you're talking about.
We'll link it up. So the watch, I mean, again, APs, Royal Oaks, but the watch that really stood out to me was a model called Polychrome Gold, and it's a Royal Oak
camouflage gold, Andy.
Right, so it's a camouflage pattern using various gold colours. Now, if you saw the ceramic camouflage stuff and cases that AP did a little while ago, it's very similar, but picture it in sort of tri-metal.
Yep.
White gold, yellow gold, and sort of like a rose gold or a coppery gold. And it is in the case, the bracelet, and the dial. And so apparently how they do it, I mean, they explain how they do it, but it's not multiple pieces, welded together. It is or pieces that have been like, poured together. It's a single piece. And they use a really interesting kind of technique using, I think they say sintering. So they call it SPS, which is spark plasma sintering. And what they do is they basically make a mold. They get the gold in a powder form, put it in the mold in the way that they want it, and then they use the SPS to basically just laser it all together.
Turn it into a solid.
Yep. So it goes from powder to a gold case. I'm assuming they do it on the dial as well, because that would be the only way for them to kind of continue the camouflage pattern. Like it starts on the side of the case and goes through to the dial.
Yeah, it's cohesive, it seems.
Yeah, this looks awesome.
Yeah.
Apparently it's not a commercial product. They've done it in a 34mm case as a example of what it could look like.
Yeah, I imagine with this sort of new tech, they're going to have to roll. That's what they did with the ceramic as well. Like they've just done concepts and like this is what's, which I understand. Like, I mean, you've got to, keep that innovation train rolling, and this certainly gives people something to look forward to.
100%. This is exactly the sort of thing I would want to see from the watch industry when everyone's getting a little bit bored.
The bracelet also looks sick as well. Like they've continued that effect across the bracelet.
That's yeah. So this is, I mean, if we talk about the industry being a bit of a lull, things being a little bit weird, this is exactly the sort of innovation I personally want to see.
Yep.
Old materials, new ways, new tech, and ways of putting them together. Yep. I find it like it just looks really cool and new. And even on a Royal Oak, like it's a great way to do something cool with the Royal Oak, which, I mean, they must be out of ideas at this point. It must be like in a random Royal Oak generator where there's a million possible combinations of it, and they put in 10 variables and get a million.
You know what else is wild, though?
This is really cool. If they...
we're talking about how this is very new and very, very 24. The first thing that I thought about, and I think we both sort of thought of, was like that old Rolex prints from like the 30s or 40s that comes with that sort of banded... it's got 2 or 3 types of gold striped across the front. So, there really is nothing new under the sun. Maybe I'm sure the technology and how they've done it here is cooler and more current, but, Yeah,
the Rolex Tridor.
Is that what they called it?
Yeah, you're right. So that, I mean, they did do some interesting stuff, mostly on the center link of the bracelet, but they did.
Now, this is a case. On the prints, it's a case.
I believe it's just the bracelet.
No, I'm going to send you a shot, my young friend. I'm going to WhatsApp you this second because I got a mate who has one, and it's a very cool.
Oyster quartz Tridor. Oh, there you go.
Look at this. Is that? That's it. Old school. We'll put a link up in the old show notes.
Yeah, that's much older than I'm thinking. Your mate has this.
Yes. We're learning something new every day here on OT, the podcast. We're talking about alloys.
Because I go back to the Datejust.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Which is just the bracelet. Yeah. Actually, just the bracelet. And for ages, these were just not cool. Not loved. I mean, they were not super cool, not popular. And then basically one guy, Tropical Watch, Jacek.
Yep. Made them happen.
Buys every single one of them and sells every single one of them.
Yeah.
And that's the extent of interest in them. And I've never quite understood because it is super cool. And maybe that's why I like this AP. Maybe that's what draws me to it is the Rolex throwback.
And I mean, and look, AP have always done interesting things with materials, like in gold, like, frosted gold clearly has really paid off for them. So I think camouflage gold has interesting potential as well. Can't wait to see where they take it.
Yeah, I mean, you'd hope. As you said, it gives people something to look forward to, but you'd hope that this makes it out there. I mean, I think the Royal Oak is just about unattainable for most people, but who knows? Boy can dream.
A boy can dream. You know about a boy who did dream and then made that dream a reality?
Who's that?
Mr. Enthusiast.
Should we get him on?
I think we should.
All right, let's zoom him in.
Zoom, zoom.
Phil Toledano started off as an artist, a geezer, watch Instagram fame, now TikTok fame, and most recently a watch company, or a part owner of a watch company that bears part of his namesake. We've caught him in between delivery runs for his very special new release that we're going to talk about. He's British, but he's found himself in New York. Not sure why. Welcome to the podcast again. I think this is the third time around, Phil.
Is it the third time?
Yeah.
Feels like the fifth.
It feels endless.
Endlessly.
I feel like we stopped the podcast.
We're trying to get cancelled, and every time we feel risky, we get you on. But no, you just mentioned you've been personally delivering watches. We should wind it back a little bit.
Much like the watch.
Haven't always been. Well, yeah, you haven't always been. You didn't always have a watch company. Before that, you were just an enthusiast. Now, are you a professional now? Like, tell us the story. You've started a brand and you sold out your first run in, I don't know, a few hours.
45 minutes. How dare you?
Damn. Not even an hour.
Yeah, I know, man. It was so terrifying. You know when you're a kid and you have a birthday party and you're sitting there in your shorts that your mum's dressed you up in some ridiculous ensemble, and you're sitting there and you have the balloons bouncing around the ceiling, and you've got the food, the ice party rings and the chocolate rolls and all that stuff, and you're waiting and you feel like, and everyone's supposed to come at 6, and you're like, is anyone going to come? You're just sitting there waiting. So the watch was supposed to go live at 9, and I was like, fuck, I can't stand it anymore. I've got to see if there's anyone outside the door who's going to ring the bloody doorbell. So I went live at like 3 to 9 or 4 to 9, and I had Shopify. It's all done through Shopify. And if you do it on your phone, if you have the sound effects on, it makes this cash register sound when someone buys something. And it just goes cha-ching, 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 and I was like, oh my God, I started freaking out, and I called Alfred, my business partner in Hong Kong. I was like, listen to this. I was just going crazy.
You're probably not the only person to start a watch brand off the back of childhood trauma.
Well, yeah, all the greatest, AP, Patek. Deep childhood trauma.
Any generational business, really. We've all seen Succession. We know how it works.
That's right.
Yeah, it was quite amazing. I think the last time we had you on, you actually teased this to us. I don't think we were allowed to show anyone.
I think I waved it around like this.
Waved it around, showed some edges, and I always said to Felix that it made sense from a sort of gap in the market. All this attention on a watch like the Midas. Everyone loves it. It's astronomically expensive. Basically, the few that are out there are owned by, I don't know, The Weeknd and probably yourself. No one's really taken that idea and done that in a bit more of an accessible way, and enter Phil and Alfred.
Into the dragon. I will actually say, sorry, that was like a Tourette's thing. I will say that I was thinking about this. When we started doing this 3 years ago, the landscape was very different. Like people loved Midas and Piaget and Stone Dials. That was not happening. Like 3 years ago, it was. I think it was still like Daytona Frenzy. And so it was actually a lot more of a stupid idea. It was a much stupider idea. Now we look like horological Warren Buffett. But then it was just sort of stupid. We were just doing it because we really loved the idea. And we wanted to make this thing for ourselves that we really loved. And then we thought, if we're lucky, we'll sell some watches. And now as I said, I look like Nostradamus, which is definitely not the case.
I don't know who started the hype on all of these funky vintage watches with stone dials from the 70s. Like, who could we blame for that?
It's Mister Enthusiastic.
Now it makes me sound really ineffective. No, that's true. I guess the reason of what we started making the watch was one of the reasons was because I was so obsessed with 70s Patek stuff, some which has stone dials. It wasn't specifically the stone dial thing for me. It was the shape thing that I was really into, and the Midas shape thing, and that sculptural thing. That was super exciting. I'm actually not a massive Piaget fan, despite popular rumors.
Fair enough.
I've got
a question about sort of so it's 4 years in sort of development phase. Was there a detail that you were unsure about or sort of wanted that was a challenge to get over the line that you sort of considered going, maybe we don't need to do this, that you were really glad in the end that you sort of stuck through with?
That's a good question. The really tedious answer is no.
Right.
I mean, oddly enough, for starters, we didn't start with like how much can we make a watch for. We just started with like, let's design something we both really love, right? And we designed that thing. I mean, look, Alfred is the genius behind all the details and the bulk of the design. I mean, I kind of came up with an idea and a vague idea for a shape, but it was really mutual all the way through. But he did all the details on the watch are him. But yeah, it was funny. I mean, I spent a long time working in advertising, and when you work on the creative side in advertising, you work in pairs. And I realized over the course of 10 or 12 years of working in advertising, I may not be the easiest person to work with. Because I just tend to think all my ideas are genius, and then later I go, oh, actually that was shit. So weirdly, like Alfred and I have the best working relationship. Like it's completely fluid. It's completely like, we bounce off each other. And there was never a point where there was never a thing that we kind of decided to do, despite the fact it seemed hard, because everything seems easy when we were making it, when we were doing it together.
And what's Alfred's deal? Like, what's his sort of, what does he bring to the equation?
Everything.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, he's a watch designer.
Yep.
And I'm just a blatherer. And he knows, because he lives in Hong Kong, he has all the contacts in mainland China to make the watch. So, it would never have happened without him.
I love it. What was like the biggest learning from manufacturing a product and going through the various prototyping kind of phases and rounds and iterations? What was the biggest learning for you as someone who's been so into watch collecting for decades, to actually going off and doing it? And I mean, you sort of mentioned you're putting your creativity into a different form and into practice in a way that you've not done before. But what was the biggest eye opener for you along the way?
Well, I'm so gloriously impatient.
Yeah.
I guess, the boring answer is just time, like how long it takes between prototypes. We say, okay, look, we like the idea of this, but then mechanically it doesn't seem to work. The bracelet, the head of the watch was easy-ish, but the bracelet is so complicated. Actually, I mean, we made, the factory had a minimum order we were supposed to order. And then we were like, oh, we can't really, that's a lot of money. Can we make less? And then they were like, we'd be really happy if we made less because it's so complicated to make and we hate making it.
Because it's all CNC, the bracelet, it's all machined.
No. It's all machined and then put together, hand assembled. But I mean, they were saying to us that it's more complicated than AP watches, and like they were. And then now we've sold out, we're like, okay, we'd like to make some more. And they're like, okay, it's going to cost you more because it's so fucking miserable to make them.
You broke the Chinese factory.
You sort of...
Yeah, we broke it. They were like, it's like Rocky, I would break you with Drago. I mean, that's what happened is we broke their spirit. Like it was just, it was kind of unexpected. I get in some ways the steepest learning curve to paraphrase that German general von Clausewitz. I think his whole thing was no battle plan survives contact with the enemy. So when we went live, the moment when we went live, we suddenly became radically aware of how clueless we were and how ill-prepared we were for the whole like ordering, shipping, customer service aspect of things.
Yeah, you've just opened up hundreds of avenues for contact.
Yeah, we for instance, we were going to ship, Alfred was going to ship all the watches from Hong Kong. And then I started reading the comments because about 80% of the sales were in America. And I started reading the comments of people who were saying, oh, you have to pay customs duties. And I thought, oh, shit, that's a bit of a mistake. So we decided to delay the shipping, ship everything to the States, absorb the customs duties ourselves, and then ship them to US customers. And which was an amazing thing we did that, because I feel like we would have had so many disgruntled people.
Yeah, it changes the tone from like another watch I've ordered online and have to deal with admin around to I get to meet TikTok famous Phil Toledano.
Meet and greets.
Well, I'm only TikTok famous because of bloody Mike Nouveau. I'm just some sort of ancillary character in this bloody universe.
The MCU, the Mike
Nouveau universe.
Yeah.
Well, I said to Felix, I'm like, is Phil just sitting outside having a coffee all day long, waiting for someone to come up?
Earlier, and then the guy was like, "Oh, hey, are you on Mike Nouveau's TikTok?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm like the walk-on guy, the walk-on geezer."
Yeah, you and Charlie. It's a 50-50 who will see that day.
Charlie's a little more dazzling.
It's actually also quite interesting timing that we're talking to you, Phil, and I don't even know if you're across this. Are you familiar with the Audemars Piguet Remaster 2?
Yeah. I'll tell you what. I mean, that was. I cannot believe how lucky we are, Alfred and I, and this is the most amazing thing that could have happened to us for the brand, because everyone is talking about us in the context of this Audemars Piguet release.
And you've sold out, so you can buy one each with all the profits.
Well, you know what? Actually, funnily enough, that watch, I'm obsessed with that watch. I have been for years. And when Alfred and I were talking about our watch, the B1, years ago, we were throwing out all these things we loved, all these watches we loved, and that watch was in there. And it's interesting because I love the watch. I feel like the reissue, it's just like, it's like late Elvis.
What do you mean?
You know what I mean? It's massive and bloated.
Is it big? Is it a lot bigger than the original?
Oh, you should Google it, man. Look at a side-by-side comparison. It's massive. Massive. Yeah. It's 42 mil across.
That is big.
And if you see people's wrists, someone told me it's like a Ploprof for evening wear.
Oh, that's good. That's a good line.
Like, oh shit! I can't get that out of my head. Like it's a dress Ploprof.
Well, yes. Monochrome, for anyone watching or listening at home, if you find it on Monochrome, they've got a lovely side-by-side shot.
Some live pics.
The first version is amazing. And you know what's really sad about the thing is that I feel like its AP is surrendering. Like they're like, you know what? We tried with 1159. That was a disaster. Now we're just going to fucking root around the archives and reissue shit. We don't have any imagination over here. Like, that's what it feels like. It's just kind of...
Look, at least they're not doing it regularly, because the last remaster was 2020, I think. So they're not, they're holding it for something genuinely interesting in the archive bin.
Right. And I love this. I just feel that, and it's funny, actually, I've gotten so many, there's like, we're now the subject of memes.
Oh, that's good.
You've made it.
Yeah, I mean, there's hilarious memes. Like, there was a meme of Mr. Bean copying someone's homework, and like, we were the homework, and Audemars Piguet, Mr. Bean copying us. And I was like, holy shit, like, we've become a meme now. It's crazy.
I want to know how you follow this up, because you've sort of 3 years to get to the point of, delivering your first watch. Have you got another design in the pipeline? Have you got variants in the pipeline? Like, are we waiting another 3 years for a watch from you guys?
Well, we have so many ideas. I don't know if Sotheby's asked us to make a pièce unique. So we made the first, I believe, carbon fiber copper infused watch in our shape. And that's going up for auction next week. So that's kind of just like it's like a statement of intent to say, look, the thing about our watch is it's always been about materials and sculpture. So we want to be using really interesting materials and surprising materials and all that stuff. So that's kind of a statement of intent. We didn't really expect the watch to sell out so quickly. So, 45 minutes after it went live, Alfred and I are like, oh shit, we don't have anything what are we going to do now? So we have to we have a couple more in the pipeline, but it's going to be like 4 or 5 months.
Okay, it's not a bad position to be in.
Interesting. What do you think?
It's amazing. But I'm terrified. I mean, I feel like in 4 or 5 months, once again, I will be the 6-year-old in the room and, like waiting to see if anyone's going to show up.
They'll turn up. We'll be there. We'll be there, Phil. What's the expectation on that piece unique? What are you thinking following the response?
I don't know, man. I mean, it's actually also it's smaller than the launch version. We just thought we'd make a smaller one just to see what that looked like. I don't know. I have no clue. Honestly, I have no. We're going to give all our proceeds to charity. By the way, just because I don't know, seems like why not do something good?
What
the charity is the Phil Toledano
AP fund.
no, actually, it is. It's going to UNICEF.
I know what you're doing here. You're trying to tank the remaster market so then come around to.
I have no clue. I mean,
what are you hoping for, or do you not dare to say what you hope in?
Look, if that watch did like 10, 12 grand, it would be a utter joy and miracle.
I reckon 35. I reckon that's
really.
Yeah, I reckon with tax it's going to be around a 50K.
Exercise. You think 50K?
Yeah, man. You.
I will send you like some free Bastardo merch if it goes to 50K. Man.
We've got this.
Well, I was on the call when that happened, so
yeah, yeah. I think so. Charity, and people love you. And if it's sold out in 45 minutes, then have they resold yet? Like I know you're delivering them. Has any popped up on Chrono?
There's one on Chrono 24. There's one on Chrono 24 asking like $8,000. And it says the seller is in Switzerland, and we only had one sale in Switzerland.
You bastard.
Was it at the address at AP?
Yeah, that's right. That's funny. That's rich. Yeah, that would be genius actually if it was like.
They've looked at it, they've scanned it, they're sending it on.
They broke it down, disassembled it. Yeah.
Well, they didn't get the meet and greet with you, so. Their loss.
They're selling it.
Their loss. I want to know. So you mentioned this one smaller, 38. What do you prefer? Because obviously we're a little way away from you, and we haven't had the opportunity to try one on. You've not offered to send one out. Rude.
Yeah, I sent one. Felix has it. You didn't tell Andy?
You sent two to Felix.
That's my other podcast.
Right. What do you prefer? Because you're a more appropriate, reasonable kind of guy when it comes to watch size.
This one is 33.4, 4.5 across, which seems small, but because it's a integrated bracelet, it wears much bigger. The carbon fibre, which is the correct pronunciation, of course, is 30.5.
Okay.
So it's quite a small.
What's the preference? What do you prefer?
I mean, they're both kind of doing slightly different things.
Mm-hmm.
I would actually love to see one in the middle and see how that looks.
Okay. Is the plan to, I mean, we talked about the production, the struggles of having to now wait 5-6 months for the next batch, but is this something you want to have kind of accessible? Like you kind of want to have stock so that people can buy it, or is it something where you kind of want it to sell out and want there to be, interest and something that's special? Because I imagine when you talk to your factories and they quoted you for 500 watches, you go, what if we made 5,000? And the price probably quartered or fifth.
Well, no, we've never actually talked about making massive quantities because we didn't have, like, it was so much money to get started. We didn't have the money to buy like a lot, and also we didn't know, and we still don't really have the money to buy a lot. And say we made 500. I mean, so hard to say. I mean, look, the business model of sort of doing a drop is easier because you require less infrastructure. Like if you have them, first of all, if you're going to have watches for sale all the time, you've got to have a shitload of watches. And then you have to have infrastructure around that. So you have to have people who are going to be sending them out, responding to customer service, all this kind of stuff. So it makes it easier if it's just two of you to sort of do a drop thing. And who knows, look, maybe that business model will change. But right now, I think we'll stick to that. It was actually interesting to see like the comments when we first revealed the watch, the comments on Instagram were almost universally amazing. But then on Reddit, it was just like a rageathon.
Well, that's different platforms for you.
That's Reddit for you, to be honest. Everything's expensive.
That was one of the most interesting Rageathon things was the movement.
Mm-hmm.
What did you use again?
Like, we have a Solita. I can't remember what it is. It's an inexpensive movement. It doesn't cost very much money. Yeah. And we've always been very upfront about that. And there's a couple of reasons. One is actually the movement we put in the watch it's a 17 mil movement. I think it is. And we couldn't find, there's almost no other movements that size, automatic movement. But two is that we put all the money into the dial, into the fabrication, the manufacturing, and to the finishing, because the way the watch is made is there's no room for mistakes. Like if the finishing is shitty or if the construction is shitty, you'll see it immediately. It's gonna be like inappropriate punctuation in a sentence. If that makes any sense?
Yeah,
sure.
It's design, and that's the focus of this watch.
And so some, when some guy was like, what's the movement? And he said, why do you, is it modified? What are you going to make an in-house movement? I said, well, what's the point of that? Like we could find a 17 mil movement that costs $2,000. Okay, so we can put that in the watch and we can charge $6,000 for the watch now, but it's not going to keep time any better.
Yeah.
So I don't really understand the rationale behind it. It's just like a weird kind of like
parroting.
It's like a weird like internet meme rage.
Yeah.
Theme.
Yeah. You complain about the movement and the water resistance, and you're done.
Right. Yeah.
And the size without trying it on, obviously. Yeah.
One other thing I'd be interested from a emerging business point of view. Have you done the thing that not all, the many successful new watch brands do, and screwed yourself on the margin so that if this comes, successful in the future, you're living off razor thin margins for the rest of your life, or having to put the price up uncomfortably at some point?
Well, it's definitely safe to say there are so many costs that we just had no clue about. So, like when we launched, you're like, oh, this is great. I mean, it's not a massive margin because it's, as I said, it's just so expensive to make, and the factory hates us. But we were like, oh, shipping and is that much. Oh, customs is this much. Oh, there's Shopify this, and so you just see everything sort of working.
Yeah, it's funny. You'll see it costs you money to sell something on Shopify, then Shopify charges you a credit card fee, and then your credit card fee charges you to pay your bank account, and your bank account charges you to get the money, and
yeah, exactly. So there's so many expenses we never had any idea of. So, I think that it's most likely that this version will probably be the cheapest version. And, also the factory, as I said earlier, have now raised price on us because they loathe us. So it's just kind of hilarious. Look, we don't really, I mean, the whole point of this watch that we could have at the outset have charged a lot more. And I know there were some people like $4,000 with a Solita movement. That's an outrage. But we wanted to make it kind of democratic. We really wanted to make it like an affordable thing for what you're getting.
Yeah. And again, it's low volume, it's years of work, and like you have to price in, the design, the uniqueness, but years and years of work, like that's not free. And there's a lot of stuff that's, look, it's not quantifiable. How do you price in your prototyping and all those costs? And like you said, the prototype cost is going to be multiples of, the unit cost. And so there's all that stuff that you have to kind of factor in, and then you have to have margins for, for refunds or for warranties or for repairs. You got to have extra stock. Like you have to do all that stuff, and it becomes quite tricky to figure out price. And then people take an issue with with you doing that at $4,000, but if AP does it at $47,000 with a movement that costs at their volume probably $500 or $1,000 and $1,000 of gold, that's okay. So I don't know. I think it's a good reminder to actually support small businesses and people that you enjoy and have gotten a lot of entertainment out of over the years.
Yeah, I've got another question for you.
Yeah,
I'm probably not in the market for this watch, because it's sold out. I would, however, buy that box Can you start a Toledano and Chan accessories line?
Actually, you know what, man? Funnily enough, the box is actually, that was one of the trickier bits, because when we were thinking about one of the great glorious things about this, one of the great things about I really feel this as an artist, and it's super importantly, but I think that if you get an opportunity to make something in life, it's a gift, right? And you should try and make something new, which is why I take umbrage with companies that churn out like copies of old watches, because I feel like it's just lazy. And you should. And so when we came to the box, because we've got this brutalist idea going with the window of the building and et cetera, and brutalist architecture is always this kind of raw, unfinished concrete. We're like, okay, of course we're going to make it in concrete, which is so stupid. And then it took us such a long time. We had like 3 or 4 prototypes. The first prototype of the box was like the Chernobyl concrete sarcophagus. Like it was this massive, huge, like I didn't even know what it was, man. And it took a while to get to the shape we're in now.
And you got to ship it.
Daniel Arsham? Yeah. I mean, it's funny actually. No, we did. Yes.
He called you. He called you and said, "What are you doing?"
His lawyers told you.
Yeah.
Right. I heard from his lawyers. They just
Sham and AP. That was just the calls you were getting that first day.
Yeah. And that's right. That's right.
Have you thought about collaborations? Going down that path?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to do a collaboration.
Amazing. Actually, we're thinking a pink doll would look fantastic.
Okay, so just so you know, like because I'm vaguely friendly with Max Buser because he was on the podcast and he's, we just sort of got along and he's a lovely person. So I did text him like a year or two ago. I was like, hey, if you want to do a collab.
Nice.
I just thought, fuck it. You know what? I'll ask Max. What's he says no. It was just like now he's deeply regretting saying no.
Yeah,
you missed out.
We've heard from him.
You could have had this. This could have been yours. Yeah,
it could have been 100 Air.
Pink doll. I'm thinking of pink doll. I think we get a
no. That's too easy. Let's go with a new case material. How do you feel about pink ceramic? I'm sure that's going to be easy to achieve.
Well, funnily enough, there's a list of materials. Ceramic is, of course, one of them. Carbon fiber mixed with something, the old family favorite titanium. There's all sorts of things. I would really love to make one out of like a platinum or something. Just this massive fucking platinum business would be. But the problem with that, like a lot of people said, "Oh, you please make one out of gold." But the problem is, like, if we did one out of gold, just the gold cost alone would be like $9,000. And then who's going to buy a watch from Toledano and Chan for $15,000 or whatever you want to sell it for?
Bit more than 15.
Yeah, you got to figure those margins out, Phil. I don't think you've not got this sorted, have you?
I'm an amazing, but yeah, okay. Say it was $20,000 to make a bloody
still
up.
That's not how this works.
All right, $23,000, $25,000, whatever you want. Someone's going to buy that. That's like Rolex. That's in the Midas thing. They're going to say, "Well, I can buy Midas."
So 3 to 4 times your cost, just to give you the hot tip.
Okay, you can see how funky, how meaty the margins are.
Could do tungsten though. Tungsten would be weighty
hard to work with.
No, it's possible though, because the Atelier Wen guys showed me a tungsten piece. It was over in Geneva, and it was quite cool, quite weighty. It's tricky because the drill bits keep breaking, and your manufacturer
the factory would hate you.
But you factor that in.
Yeah. What's that other that metal that we were trying to have done? Not tungsten. AP did one in the 70s and the 80s, a quartz one, small. Tantalum.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Yeah, look, I loved all those exotic metals. That'd be amazing. Actually, oddly enough, I was thinking about silver. I wonder if that would be interesting in the way it would tarnish.
That's a good call. That would be a really interesting play because it's a lot cheaper. It still has that precious metal vibe, and I think it would fit in with that sort of brutalist reacting with the environment.
I think
it would look amazing after a while if it's all kind of blackened and.
The Chrome Hearts phase is on the way out, though, isn't it?
What's that?
The Chrome Hearts phase is is happening at the moment.
You know when you have an idea and then someone makes a reference and it just destroys that idea. Like it bludgeons it like a baby seal, and the idea isn't fully formed.
Just ignore Andy. I'm with you. I think there's a future in a silver.
Forget it, Andy.
Yeah.
Get it. I'm excited for you. I think that there's some opportunity here. You might be onto something, kid.
Well, I guess my biggest fear, the thing I would really, if I'm going to sound both naive and ambitious, the dream would be to make a watch that becomes kind of an icon and just goes for a long time. That would be my dream, because it's always, I think, like, when you make something, at least as an artist, my goal, my dream is to make work that lasts, right? That matters to people and lasts. And that's how I feel about this watch. I want to make something that matters to people and that lasts. And my terror is that, I don't know, like how do you make something last? But then I was thinking about iconic watches, and you think about a lot of them are shape-based, right? They're like the Crash that's having such a frenzy right now, the Nautilus, the Royal Oak, those three in particular are in shapes.
Well, as an ad guy, I think I've got an idea for you. Change your name to Gerald Genta.
Shit.
Done.
You know what? You're onto something. Well, you know what? I actually find Gerald Genta massively inspiring, not for all the early stuff, but for the stuff he was doing in the 90s, when that I'm kind of obsessed with, because there's such an explosion of like curiosity in materials. You know, like he was doing carbon fiber and mother of pearl and lapis all on one dial, and that was at a time when carbon fiber was super exotic.
Yeah, sure.
It's very cool to see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's exciting because it's the start of the journey. It's the start of, you know, this whole new realm for you. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to make some new friends along the way. You'll definitely have people at your second birthday party. Maybe we'll be there. Maybe we will come. I want to wrap this out with something non-watch related. We want a recommendation because, you know, I know you've been busy on this, but you've also got hobbies. You've also got other things going on. Give us a Brit's New Yorker tip. The best thing to do in New York right now.
Well, if it's a geezer tip, it's just stay at home and watch Netflix.
Don't
Nice. Peter Pan.
I mean, I don't know if you guys can do that in Australia. Do you have Netflix?
Not yet.
We've got
Not
Stan.
yet.
What's Stan? Is that like a version
Stan.
of?
Yeah. It's owned by the Drop Bears.
I'm now lost. The geezer is now lost. You know what? What can I suggest doing? See, I don't do anything anymore. I mean,
You drive? You've got cars? You still have a couple of cars?
I don't even drive. I was actually thinking of just selling them all.
Deliver watches? Deliver things? Is it nice delivering things? I don't know, meeting new people? Meet your fans?
Yeah, it gets the geezer out. I do like it. Look, there's nothing better than showing someone something you've made and having them be delighted at it. That's a peak. That's really a pinnacle of joy for me.
Do you hide around the corner when you kind of give it to them and sort of watch their reaction?
No, I give it to them. Well, I guess there's a lot of pressure.
You just look, you're like, what do you think?
I like it, and then I just cross my arms and, just unsmilingly.
Has there been any awkward ones where they're like, oh, and you're like, what's wrong? It's fine.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah,
the higher the bullshit. Not yet, but I've only done like 4 or 5 deliveries. I mean, look, I have definitely not people clearly not people who bought them, but I've definitely shown the watch to people, and I've gotten great.
Was Max Bruce one of them?
This isn't your main thing, though, right? Like, you've got other.
That's right. What else do you do, Phil? Actually, well, this month's been possibly one of the most amazing months of my entire life, because I had a new book that came out like 3 weeks ago.
Here we go.
And then watch, and then it's kind of amazing.
And Donald Trump is now a felon.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's a trifecta of joy.
Incredible. Well,
Philharmonic.
Keep it in. The mushrooms are kicking in, Felix.
Mister Enthusiast, one half of Toledano Chan. Thank you very much for
Which half?
the less talented half.
Oh, I got the super wheeze from Andy, man. You don't often get the super wheeze.
Super wheeze. It's the nuts. It's the crackers. Yeah.
Wow.
It's just got all this.
Quick apologies to anyone having to edit the second half of this interview, or if it isn't edited, listening to it. It's gone off the rails a little bit, but we're going to bring it back on the rails by ending it. Thank you very
Before
much,
it
Phil.
ends us.
End it. Finish him. Do you guys remember Mortal Kombat?
Yeah.
Of course.
I yelled that. I CrossFit. I do exercise.
Of course you do CrossFit.
Well, obviously, look at you.
I'm swole. And in the middle of today's CrossFit, I just yelled out, "Finish him!" for no apparent reason.
Did the other CrossFitters understand the reference, or?
Yeah. Everyone, and then everyone was like doing other multiple Mortal Kombat references.
Sure, yeah. Who did you main in Mortal Kombat when you were playing it?
All I remember, man, is like I finally, you could figure out like to take the head off and it had the spine.
Oh, yeah. It comes
Remember
out.
that?
Yeah.
I think it was more Street Fighter.
Dangling.
Oh, Street Fighter was great. Okay, let's for you. What are your top favorite ancient games? Because for the geezer.
Duke Nukem.
Wow.
What about Halo?
That's not that ancient. I mean,
No,
it's
they're
20
like
years old.
that's like a 20. I subscribe to a newsletter that is a lot of it is like this game is now 25 years old and you feel real old.
Doom. Doom was always good. You played Doom?
I remember, and you could hear all it was networks. So I could hear and I was basically playing against. Sound like it was like a bunch of 10-year-olds. One kid, his screen name was "My Nuts, Your Chin."
Nice, classic. I was a big fan of
formative years for you. What about Diablo? Diablo was always good on PC.
I liked. This was in the 90s. It was a tank game, and it was all
Vectors.
Yeah, vectors.
Yeah,
exactly.
Of course it was. That's the most Phil Toledano brutalist.
I love that game, man. I love Battlezone. Oh, you know what else I liked was what's the one where you're you have to harvest all the crystals and build stuff, and then you go over and invade your neighbors.
Warcraft.
Yeah, like it was a Warcraft thing.
Warcraft 2, I think.
Age of Empires as well. That was always. They gave them out with Weet-Bix boxes.
Yeah.
I do actually play. You guys play PUBG?
No, it's been a while since I've played a competitive first-person shooter. But yeah, we've talked about you playing PUBG before, and I find it hilarious. Are you on your iPad as well?
What's that?
Do you play it on an iPad too?
I play on an iPad. Is that like a geezery thing to do? Do people not play it on iPad?
No, I think most people that are serious about it will be playing it on a console or a screen, but it's.
Yeah, I'm smearing my fingers around the iPad and shouting at it. Yeah.
Is that where you're at dinner with your family and it's lent up against?
Yeah, I'm playing.
I've got to beat Dragon D's. Idiot.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there was a time when I was playing that hours a day.
Yeah, that tracks.
That was after no one came to your birthday party.
Yeah, and what's other end of the spectrum? A recent video game you've played that's not PUBG, something new.
I haven't played anything new. It's just been PUBG.
Okay, cool.
On the iPad.
On the iPad. And Reddit, flicking between PUBG and Reddit comments.
Yeah, that's right. Getting enraged and then picking out the rage in PUBG.
You should join our Discord. You'd love it.
I think, apparently Alfred's in our Discord. Apparently he's in there.
Oh.
Did you not see that? Yeah.
Shit, we've got to stop trash talking.
I know. Well, that's what someone was saying. They're like, hey, he's in here.
He's in here. The caller's coming from inside the house.
Mate, we'll have to restrict his privileges so he can't see certain keywords.
Wait, what Discord? Why am I not in on that? What's the Discord?
It's our OT the podcast Discord.
Oh, is that on WhatsApp or that's not a WhatsApp thing?
Well, Discord is a separate platform. in and of itself.
I use Midjourney on Discord to make my.
Oh, so you can join our.
Of course you do. Yeah, get on. It's a link in the show notes. I'll even send you a custom one.
This is really because they'll be confused. Like I'll just get lost in like some menu on Discord.
I'm doing it right now. It's that easy to join Discord. If you are using Midjourney, join OT the podcast Discord.
Yeah, and you can share you can get some original Phil Toledano creations in our Discord.
You can bully him in voice chat on Discord.
And Phil,
once a week.
That's worth the price of admission right there.
It's free.
Also,
Phil,
you can give me advice on a tote bag.
Oh, I do like a nice tote.
I thought you would.
Well, here's my hack for you and the listeners: is pilot helmet bags on eBay. U.S. Army. I got a really big one that's an Apache helicopter helmet bag, and they're like $50, and they last forever, and they're super cool.
Would it hurt you to hear that there's a couple of pilots in our Discord who have already suggested that?
It would. Okay, but let me ask you this.
He's in there. You're the one who's in there.
Yeah, it's me. Okay, here's the thing. You know how you have the Velcro name tag thing?
Yeah. So
I've made like 7 different Velcro name tags with the sole purpose of embarrassing my daughter.
Oh, nice. You're a terrible human.
And I have the bag with the Velcro name tag, and I talk to friends, they notice it. So they say things like, the Archduke of Riz, or
the Rizzler.
My fit is fire, bro, or my fit is on fleek, or and I'll just check.
I think that's where we ended, Andy. I think we're done.
I wasn't expecting Phil to say the word Riz, but it makes sense. He's the grandmaster of the Riz.
Yeah, I am, yeah. Grandpa Rizzles.
A Riz Lord.
Yeah. The Riz Lord, the Dark Riz Lord.
OD Rizzle.
OG Rizzle. The Rizzle. I mean, I just say all this stuff to my friends, my daughter's friends, and they're just Well, she's actually horrified. They kind of find it amusing.
Do you think of rolling paper when you think of Rizzle?
Rizzler.
Yeah, there we go.
Larger size for the cones. And then you tear off the Yeah, I haven't rolled what I've heard. No, that's all legal now.
I think we're done, Andy. I think we're done. Let's...
That's it.
Oh, look. What about... You got to deliver a watch, man. We've got to go.
Oh, shit. I've got to go drop off the geezer watch. Guys, it was really lovely to talk to you again. It's always a joy.
Amazing. Pleasure to have you on.
Always a pleasure. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you so much, gents. I really appreciate it.
Phil Toledano, he lives up to his name. Certainly he's enthusiastic. We talked, he's a little bit of behind the scenes. We talked for another good little bit of time about old school video games. Maybe that's our next podcast.
Stitched in. Maybe we'll get that stitched in. I don't know. Maybe the wonders of editing, it's already in there. There's some stuff that definitely had to come out.
Oh, yeah.
I love Phil, though. I reckon if we lived in the same city as Phil, bi-monthly, we'd have, at least, we just catch up. He's the kind of guy who you could just go down to a cafe or a bar with and have absurd discussions with about, I reckon, anything.
If I had to sum Phil up in one word, I think it would be affable.
I say this in an endearing way. I'd say unhinged.
Affably unhinged. It's 2 words.
Unhinged.
And
thank
enthusiastic.
you so much for coming on, Phil.
All right, I think we should go. Again, we did try to convince him to join the Discord on the call. I notice he hasn't joined yet. I think maybe too many steps to sign up to Discord. Probably confused his old brain. But it's really a simple process. You should do it. There's a link in our bio. You should also check us out on Instagram. We're doing stuff on TikTok, thanks to Andy.
Share the word. Just tell people.
Yeah. Feed the beast.
That's it. We'll see you guys next time.